The mahogany doors of my father's study had never looked more imposing than they did that morning. I stood there, heart pounding, clutching the letter that would change everything. My Aunt Sylvia's words from earlier still echoed in my mind. "Be careful, Lucia. There are secrets in this family that could burn everything to the ground." I'm Lucia, and until yesterday, I was the heir to Warner Industries. Today, I'm about to become the family disappointment. "Come in," my father's voice boomed through the heavy wood. I pushed open the doors, the familiar scent of leather and cigars hitting me as I entered. "You wanted to see me." I kept my voice steady, though my hands were trembling. My father didn't look up from his desk. "Sit down." I perched on the edge of the leather chair, watching him shuffle papers with deliberate slowness. Classic power move. Finally, he looked up, his steel gray eyes meeting mine. "Earl called me this morning," he said. "Apparently, you refused his proposal last night." "I did. Care to explain why you're trying to destroy everything I've built?" I leaned forward. "Dad, I barely know him. We've met what, 3 times? And each time he's treated me like a business transaction. Because that's exactly what this is." He slammed his hand on the desk. "The McDonald merger depends on this marriage. Your sister understands this. Why can't you?" The mention of Penelope made my stomach turn. What does Penny have to do with this? The door behind me opened, and speak of the devil, my sister walked in, perfectly poised in her designer dress. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Tell her," my father commanded. Penelope cleared her throat. "Earl and I had dinner last night. After you left, we talked, and we're getting married instead." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "At least one of my daughters understands duty," my father said, pulling out a document. "I've already had the papers drawn up. You're out, Lucia. No inheritance, no trust fund, no position in the company. Penelope will take your place in everything." "This is insane." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're cutting me off because I won't marry a man I don't love?" "I'm cutting you off because you're weak," he spat. "This company needs strong leadership, someone who understands sacrifice, like marrying your sisters intended." I turned to Penelope. "How long have you been planning this?" She flinched. "It's not like that, Lou." Someone had to step up. "Sign the papers." My father pushed the document toward me. "Or I'll make sure you never work in this industry again." My hands were steady now, anger replacing fear. "You know what? Keep your money, keep your empire, but remember this moment, because I promise you both, this isn't over." I stood up, the chair scraping against the hardwood floor. As I reached the door, Penelope called out, "Lucia, wait." I turned back one last time. "Congratulations on the engagement, sis. I hope it was worth it." The halls of our family mansion felt different as I walked out, like I was seeing them for the first time. My phone buzzed, a text from Aunt Sylvia. "Come to my house, there's something you need to see." I stepped into the morning sun, my father's final words following me. "You'll regret this, Lucia. You're nothing without this family." He was wrong. I wasn't nothing. I was free, and freedom meant I could finally show them who I really was. As I drove away, I caught sight of Earl's black Mercedes pulling up to the house. He stepped out in his perfectly tailored suit, that cold smile on his face. He saw me and nodded, like we were sharing some private joke. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Noel. "Heard what happened? Need backup?" I typed back quickly. "Meet me at Sylvia's. Things are about to get interesting." The weight of the morning should have crushed me, but instead I felt lighter. They thought they had won, thought they had me cornered. But they forgot one thing. I was my father's daughter, and he had taught me well. In business, like in war, the best revenge is served with patience and precision. Aunt Sylvia was waiting for me on her porch, a thick manila envelope in her hands. "Ready to learn the truth about your father's empire?" she asked as I approached. I smiled, thinking of my father's smug face, of Penelope's betrayal, of Earl's cold calculations. More than ready. Little did they know, this was just the beginning. The wedding they were planning. It would be a day no one would forget, but not for the reasons they expected. Aunt Sylvia's living room felt like a sanctuary compared to the cold formality of my father's study. She handed me a glass of wine and settled into her favorite armchair, the manila envelope sitting between us on the coffee table like a loaded gun. "Before we open that," she said, "tell me exactly what happened this morning." I recounted the meeting, my voice cracking only once when I mentioned Penelope's betrayal. Sylvia's face darkened with each detail. "That manipulative bastard," she muttered. "Your father's gotten worse since your mother died. What's in the envelope, Aunt Sylvia?" She leaned forward. "First, you need to understand something. Your father didn't always run his business this way. The change started about 5 years ago, when Philip MacDonald came into the picture. My phone buzzed. Noel had arrived. He walked in without knocking, as usual, bringing the scent of coffee and determination with him. "I brought reinforcements," he announced, holding up a laptop bag. "And donuts. We're going to need both." Sylvia smiled. Perfect timing. I was just about to show Lucia what her father's been hiding. She opened the envelope and spread its contents across the coffee table. Financial reports, emails, photographs, a paper trail of secrets that made my blood run cold. "Holy shit," Noel whispered, picking up one of the documents. "Is this what I think it is? If you think it's proof of systematic fraud and insider trading, then yes," Sylvia confirmed. "Your father and Philip MacDonald have been cooking the books for years. This marriage isn't just about a merger. It's about covering their tracks." I grabbed one of the photos. It showed my father and Philip in what looked like a heated argument outside a warehouse. The timestamp was from just 2 weeks ago. "Where did you get all this?" Sylvia's eyes gleamed. "Let's just say I'm not just the family's crazy aunt who drinks too much wine. I've been watching, waiting. Your mother asked me to keep an eye on things before she died. Mom knew." The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. "She suspected. That's why she left you a separate inheritance, one your father doesn't know about. It's been gathering interest for 7 years." Noel was already typing furiously on his laptop. "These numbers don't add up. The MacDonald merger isn't just suspicious. It's desperate. They're trying to hide millions in losses. And Penelope's walking right into it," I said. "The pieces falling into place. They're using her as a smokescreen." The doorbell rang, making us all jump. Sylvia peeked through the curtains and cursed. "It's Yesenia, Penelope's friend. Quick, hide everything." We scrambled to gather the documents. As Sylvia went to answer the door, I could hear Yesenia's voice, bright and oblivious. "Lucia, I thought I might find you here. Penny's worried sick about you." I forced a smile. "Is she? That's funny, considering she's wearing my engagement ring." Yesenia shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I know it seems bad, but Penny's just trying to help the family. Your father was so upset after you refused Earl. Upset enough to plan this whole thing in advance." The words shot out before I could stop them. Yesenia's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "Nothing." I backtracked quickly. "Just feeling bitter, I guess." "Well, Penny wanted me to invite you to the engagement party next week. She really wants you there." I caught Noel's subtle nod from across the room. "Tell her I wouldn't miss it." After Yesenia left, Sylvia locked the door and pulled the curtains shut. "You're not actually going to that party, are you?" "Of course I am," I said, picking up one of the financial reports. "In fact, I'm going to help plan it." Noel grinned. "I know that look. You're plotting something. They want to play happy families? Fine. But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." I turned to Sylvia. "You said Mom left me an inheritance?" She nodded. "Enough to give you options. The question is, what are you going to do with it?" I looked at the scattered evidence of my father's crimes, thought of Penelope's betrayal, of Earl's smug face. "I'm going to do what Dad taught me, protect the family business, just not the way he expected." "You'll need help," Noel said, already pulling up more documents on his laptop. "That's what I'm counting on." I picked up my wine glass, raising it in a mock toast. "To family loyalty." Sylvia's eyes sparkled as she raised her own glass. "And to karma." The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the room, as we began to plan. My phone kept buzzing with messages from Penelope, but I ignored them all. She'd made her choice. Now it was time to make mine. The next morning found us huddled in Noel's downtown office, surrounded by empty coffee cups and printouts of financial records. My eyes burned from staring at spreadsheets all night, but what we discovered was worth the exhaustion. Look at this, Noel pointed to his screen. Every major deal your father made with Philip in the last 5 years has a shadow transaction behind it. They're bleeding money from their own companies and using the merger to cover it up. I finished, rubbing my temples. But why? Dad's always been ruthless. But this is different. The office door opened, and Sylvia walked in, carrying fresh coffee and a newspaper. Because he's desperate. Look at this. She spread the business section across Noel's desk. The headline made my stomach drop. Warner Industries announces surprise merger with McDonald Corp. Wedding bells to seal the deal. They're moving fast, I muttered. The engagement party's in 3 days. My phone buzzed. Another message from Penelope. Please come to the dress fitting today. I need my sister there. Noel peered over my shoulder. Are you going? Yes, but not for the reason she thinks. I grabbed my bag. Keep digging into those transactions. I need to play the supportive sister. The bridal boutique was exactly as pretentious as I expected. Penelope sat on a velvet chair, surrounded by wedding magazines, while Yesenia fawned over fabric swatches. Lucia, Penelope jumped up. You came. Wouldn't miss it. I smiled, the lie bitter on my tongue. So show me the dress. As Penelope disappeared into the fitting room, Yesenia cornered me. I'm so glad you're here. Penny's been so stressed. Yesterday, I overheard her arguing with your father about something in his office. My ears perked up. Really? What about? I couldn't hear everything, but she was crying. Something about documents she had to sign before the wedding. Earl was there too, being all weird and intense. The fitting room door opened, and Penelope emerged in a cloud of white silk. She looked beautiful and terrified. What do you think? She asked, voice small. I studied her face in the mirror. You look scared, Penny. Her eyes met mine in the reflection. I'm not scared. I'm doing what's right for the family. Are you? Or are you doing what Dad and Earl want? Don't, she whispered. Please, Lou, I can't. The boutique door chimed, and Earl walked in. Perfect timing, as always. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Ladies, he nodded. Penny, your father needs you to sign some papers, now. I watched my sister's face pale. Right now, but we're in the middle of… It's important. His tone left no room for argument. As Penelope changed, I approached Earl. Enjoying your role as Dad's errand boy? His smile turned cold. Careful, Lucia. You're not part of this anymore. Don't make things difficult. Or what? You'll cut me off? Too late for that. Penelope emerged, and Earl whisked her away. Through the boutique window, I watched them drive off in his black Mercedes. My phone rang. It was Noel. You need to get back here. We found something big. 20 minutes later, I stared at Noel's computer screen in disbelief. Are these real? Very. He confirmed. Your father and Philip have been using offshore accounts to hide losses from bad investments. The merger isn't just about combining companies. It's about accessing Philip's foreign holdings to cover the tracks. And they need Penelope's signature because she's taking my place as heir. I realized. They're making her complicit. Sylvia, who'd been quietly listening, spoke up. We need to move carefully. If they realize we know. They won't, I said, pulling out my phone. Because I'm going to help plan the perfect engagement party. I dialed Yesenia's number. Hey, remember how you said Penny wanted my help? I'm in. In fact, I have some great ideas for the party. After hanging up, I turned to Noel and Sylvia. 3 days. That's how long we have to gather everything we need. The engagement party will be their first public appearance together. What exactly are you planning? Sylvia asked. I picked up one of the offshore account documents. They want to put on a show. Fine, but I'll be the one directing it. My phone buzzed again, a message from Penelope. Just signed some papers for Dad. Why didn't you tell me being heir was this complicated? I showed the message to Noel and Sylvia. She's starting to crack. We just need to push a little harder. Be careful, Sylvia warned. Your father won't go down without a fight. I thought of Penelope's scared face in the mirror, of Earl's threats, of my father's betrayal. Good, neither will I. The engagement party venue buzzed with activity as I directed the decorators, playing my role as the supportive sister perfectly. Yesenia hovered nearby, checking items off her list while I positioned myself near the entrance to my father's makeshift office, a converted conference room where he and Philip had been holed up all morning. The flowers should go there, I pointed, inching closer to the door. No, the other side. Yes, perfect. Through the gap beneath the door, I could hear raised voices. The SEC is asking questions, Philip's voice carried. We need to move faster. The wedding's in 2 weeks, my father responded. Once the papers are signed. 2 weeks might be too late? I pretended to adjust a centerpiece, straining to hear more. Lucia. Penelope's voice made me jump. What are you doing? Just making sure everything's perfect for your big night. I smiled, straightening up. You deserve it. She didn't look convinced. You've been acting strange ever since the dress fitting. Speaking of strange, I cut in. How are those documents Dad made you sign? The ones Earl rushed you out for? Her face fell. I don't want to talk about that. Why not? Isn't that what heirs do? Sign important papers. Please stop, she whispered. You don't understand. The office door swung open. Earl emerged, looking agitated. Penny, your father needs you. Actually, I stepped between them. We need her for the seating arrangements, family politics. You know how it is. Earl's jaw tightened. It can wait. No. Penelope said suddenly. No, it can't. The party's in 6 hours, and we need to get this right. I watched surprise flash across Earl's face before he masked it. Fine, but make it quick. As we walked away, I caught Penelope's slight tremor. You okay? I don't know what I'm doing anymore, she admitted. These papers they keep making me sign. Lou, I think something's wrong. Tell me. She glanced around nervously. Last night, I overheard Dad and Philip arguing about accounts in the Cayman Islands. When I asked Earl about it, he said I shouldn't worry my pretty little head about business matters. And that didn't set off any alarm bells. Of course it did. But what am I supposed to do? Back out now. Dad would never forgive me. I grabbed her arm, pulling her into an empty hallway. Listen to me carefully. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, she whispered. You don't know what they'll do if what? I pressed. What are they threatening you with? Before she could answer, Yesenia appeared. There you are. The caterers need approval on the menu changes. Penelope practically ran toward the distraction, leaving me alone in the hallway. I pulled out my phone to text Noel. You in position? Ready when you are. Sylvia's got the files. I smiled, remembering the USB drive hidden in my aunt's elegant clutch. Everything we'd discovered about the offshore accounts, the fraudulent transactions, the SEC investigation, all of it ready to be displayed on the venue's giant screens during tonight's speeches. My father's office door opened again. This time, Philip emerged, looking pale and shaken. He headed straight for the bar, despite it being barely noon. I followed, sliding onto the bar stool next to him. Rough morning. He startled, then forced a smile. Lucia, didn't expect to see you here. Wouldn't miss my sister's engagement party. Drink. He eyed me suspiciously, but nodded. I signaled the bartender. You know, I said casually, I always wondered why you were so eager to merge with our company. Now I think I'm starting to understand. His knuckles whitened around his glass. Careful, girl. You're playing with fire. No, I'm just following the money. Isn't that what good business people do? Before he could respond, my father's voice boomed across the room. What are you doing here? I turned, raising my glass. Getting to know my future family better. Isn't that what you wanted? "Philip, we need to finish our discussion," my father said, through gritted teeth. As they walked away, I noticed Penelope watching from across the room. The fear in her eyes had been replaced by something else: determination. My phone buzzed again. "Noel. Found the smoking gun. Your father's been embezzling from Penelope's trust fund, too." I looked at my sister, still standing alone amid the party preparations. She caught my eye and gave a slight nod, like she'd finally made a decision. 6 hours. In 6 hours, everything would change. The engagement party they'd planned would become their worst nightmare, and for once, I wasn't the only one who wanted the truth to come out. I checked my watch and smiled. The countdown had begun. The engagement party was in full swing when Penelope grabbed my arm and pulled me into the venue's powder room. Her champagne glass shook in her hand. "I need to show you something," she said, fumbling with her phone. I took photos of the documents they made me sign. My heart raced as she pulled up the images. "When did you take these?" "Last night. After what you said, I couldn't sleep, so I snuck into Dad's study." She zoomed in on one particular page. "Look at the numbers. They don't make sense." I studied the document, trying to contain my excitement. "These are transfer authorizations. They're moving your trust fund offshore." "What?" She grabbed the phone back. "But Dad said these were standard merger documents." "Wake up, Penny. They're using you. The merger, the wedding, it's all a cover." The bathroom door opened, and Yesenia walked in. "There you are. Earl's looking everywhere for you, Penny. The speeches are about to start." Penelope's face went pale. "Right. The speeches. Actually," I interjected, "could you give us a minute? Sister stuff." Yesenia hesitated, then nodded and left. As soon as the door closed, Penelope burst into tears. "I can't do this," she sobbed. "I can't marry him. Earl isn't who I thought he was. Last night, I heard him talking to his father about what would happen after they dealt with Dad." "What exactly did they say?" "Something about taking control once the merger was complete. They're planning to force Dad out." She wiped her eyes. "I thought I was helping the family, but I'm just a pawn." I pulled her into a hug. "Then let's stop them." "How?" "I have proof, real proof, of everything they've been doing. But I need your help." She pulled back, mascara streaking her cheeks. "What kind of proof?" I told her about the offshore accounts, the SEC investigation, the embezzlement. With each revelation, her eyes grew wider. "That's why they needed me to sign those papers," she whispered. "They're making me an accomplice." A sharp knock interrupted us. "Penny?" Earl's voice. "You're needed outside. Now." She grabbed my hand. "What do we do?" "Follow my lead, and whatever happens during the speeches, just remember, I've got your back." We emerged to find Earl looking irritated. "There you are. Your father's about to make the announcement." Sure enough, my father was already clinking his glass for attention. The crowd gathered around as he began his speech about family legacy and business dynasties. I caught Noel's eye across the room. He nodded slightly. Everything was ready. "And now," my father concluded, "I'd like to invite my daughter Penelope and her fiancé Earl to say a few words." Penelope stepped forward, trembling. Earl grabbed her elbow possessively. "Actually," I called out, "I think Philip should speak first. After all, this merger was his idea, wasn't it?" Philip, already several drinks in, looked startled. Well, go on," I encouraged. "Tell everyone about your brilliant business strategy, about the offshore accounts, about the SEC investigation." The room went silent. My father's face turned purple. "Lucia, that's enough." "No, Dad, it's not." I pulled out my phone. "Noel, now." The venue's screens flickered to life, displaying financial documents, bank transfers, and incriminating emails. Gasps echoed through the crowd. "You see," I addressed the stunned guests, "this isn't just a marriage, it's a cover-up, and they were going to sacrifice my sister to pull it off." Earl lunged forward. "Shut this down now." "Don't bother." Penelope's voice rang out. She held up her phone. "I have copies of everything." documents you made me sign, conversations I recorded. It's over. Philip staggered forward. You little I wouldn't. Sylvia stepped between us. The SEC is already on their way. Anonymous tip. The room erupted into chaos. My father made a dash for the exit, but found two SEC agents waiting. Earl tried to grab Penelope, but she twisted away. Don't touch me, she spat. The wedding's off. I watched as agents began questioning people and collecting devices. Noel appeared at my side, grinning. Not bad for an evening's entertainment, he said. Penelope joined us, looking both terrified and relieved. What happens now? I put my arm around her shoulders. Now, we rebuild, the right way. Through the commotion, I caught my father's eye as he was led away. For the first time in my life, I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. Lucia, he called out. You don't understand what you've done. No, Dad, I replied calmly. I understand exactly what I've done. I protected the family from you. The engagement party had turned into something else entirely. As guests rushed to leave and reporters began arriving, I held on to my sister's hand. We had a lot to figure out, but at least now we could do it together. And somewhere, I knew Mom would be proud. The morning after the engagement party explosion, I sat in the Warner Industries boardroom, surrounded by shell-shocked executives. Penelope sat beside me, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her engagement ring conspicuously absent. The SEC has frozen most of the company's accounts, our chief financial officer announced. We're looking at potential bankruptcy unless we can prove which transactions were legitimate and which weren't, I interrupted, spreading out the documents we'd gathered. That's why we're here at 7 a.m. And who put you in charge? Trevor from Legal Affairs challenged. Last I heard, you were disinherited. Penelope stood up. I did. As acting CEO, my first decision is appointing Lucia as interim COO. Acting CEO? Trevor scoffed. Your father is in federal custody, I cut in, along with Philip McDonald and Earl. The board needs to act fast if we want to save this company. The door burst open. Yesenia rushed in, clutching her tablet. You need to see this. It's all over the news. She pulled up a live stream. Earl was being led out of his house in handcuffs, shouting at reporters. This is a setup. That bitch Lucia orchestrated everything. Ask her about the offshore accounts her mother left her. I felt everyone's eyes turn to me. Is it true? Penelope whispered. Did Mom really leave you money? Yes, I admitted. But not offshore accounts. Aunt Sylvia helped Mom set up a clean trust before she died. I never touched it until now. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know whose side you were really on. The boardroom door opened again. This time it was Noel, looking grim. We've got trouble. Your father's asking for you both. Says he'll only talk to you. Penelope grabbed my hand. We should go. It's a trap, I warned. Probably, but we need answers. The police station was a circus of reporters and photographers. We pushed through them to find Aunt Sylvia, waiting inside. He's in interrogation room 3, she said. Be careful, he's desperate. Our father looked smaller somehow, sitting at the metal table in his rumpled tuxedo from last night. His eyes lit up when we entered. My girls, he said. I knew you'd come. Save it, I snapped. We're here for answers. Fine. You want answers. Everything I did was to protect this family. Your mother's death left us vulnerable. Philip offered a solution. By stealing from your own children. Penelope's voice shook. I was going to pay it all back. The merger would have fixed everything. The merger was a scam, I said. And now the company's about to collapse. He leaned forward. Unless what? Unless you use your trust fund to save it. Your mother's money could stabilize things until we sort this out. I laughed bitterly. You're unbelievable. Even now you're still trying to manipulate us. I'm trying to save our legacy. No, Penelope said firmly. You're trying to save yourself, and we're done helping you do that. A knock at the door, an officer entered. Time's up. As we stood to leave, our father called out. The board will never accept your leadership. They'll tear the company apart. Watch us, I replied. Outside, reporters swarmed again. Penelope grabbed the microphone from the nearest one. Warner Industries is under new management, she announced clearly. My sister and I are implementing full transparency and cooperation with federal investigators. We're committed to saving every job we can and rebuilding this company the right way. Back at the office, we found Noel and Sylvia had been busy. The boardroom was now a command center, with teams working to untangle years of financial deception. The good news, Noel reported, is that most of the legitimate business is still solid. If we can separate it from the fraud, we can save the company, I finished. But we'll need help. Penelope picked up her phone. I know who to call. Remember Maria from business school? She's a forensic accountant now. Perfect. Noel, can you? A commotion outside interrupted us. Earl's father, Philip, had escaped custody and was being pursued. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. Should we be worried? Penelope asked. I looked at our makeshift team. Noel with his laptop, Sylvia with her wisdom, Penelope with her newfound strength, and all the employees who'd chosen to stay and fight. Let them try, I said. We've got something they never had. What's that? Each other and the truth. We worked through the night, fueled by coffee and determination. The company our father built through deception, we would rebuild with integrity. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. And this time, we'd do it together. 3 days after Philip's escape, I was reviewing security footage in my new office when Noel burst in. They found him, he announced breathlessly. Philip was trying to board a private plane to the Caymans. I grabbed my phone to call Penelope, but she was already rushing through the door. Maria, the forensic accountant, right behind her. It gets better, Maria said, spreading papers across my desk. Look what we found in Philip's briefcase. The documents detailed everything. Every fraudulent transaction, every shell company, every bribe. But one paper made my blood run cold. This is Mom's signature, I whispered, dated 2 days before she died. Penelope leaned over my shoulder. That's not her signature. Look at the loop in the OJ. Mom never wrote it that way. They forged it, Maria confirmed, and used it to access accounts she had protected. Your father and Philip have been planning this for years. My phone rang. Aunt Sylvia, turn on the news, now. I grabbed the remote, and we all watched in shock as the story unfolded. Philip had started talking, implicating not just our father, but half a dozen other executives in a massive fraud scheme. The SEC is expanding their investigation, the reporter announced. Sources say this could be one of the largest corporate fraud cases in recent history. Holy shit, Noel muttered. The office door flew open again. This time it was Yesenia, looking panicked. Earl's downstairs. He's demanding to see Penelope. Like hell, I started. But Penelope held up her hand. No, let him come up. I want to hear what he has to say. Minutes later, Earl strutted in, trying to look confident despite his disheveled appearance. Penny baby, we need to talk. About what? Penelope's voice was ice. About how you and your father planned to steal my company. Or about how you were going to frame me for everything. He faltered. That's not, I can explain. Explain this. Maria stepped forward, holding up the forged document. Your fingerprints are all over this forgery. Literally, we found them. Earl's face went white. Where did you get that? Your father's briefcase, I smiled. He's being very cooperative with the authorities. He wouldn't. He already did, Noel interrupted, turning up the TV volume. Philip's face filled the screen as he detailed his confession. Earl lunged for the documents, but security was faster. They had him pinned before he could reach the desk. You bitches don't understand, he shouted as they dragged him out. This company was supposed to be mine. Well, that was dramatic, Sylvia remarked, walking in after the commotion. But we have bigger problems. The board is meeting in an hour to vote on the company's future. We gathered in the boardroom. facing the stern faces of the board members. Trevor from legal still looked skeptical. The company's reputation is in tatters, he argued. We need to consider selling. No, I stood up. What we need is transparency. Maria, show them. Maria presented her findings, a complete reconstruction of the company's legitimate business operations, separated from the fraud. The core business is still strong, she explained, with proper oversight and new management. New management? Trevor scoffed. You mean these two girls? These two girls uncovered the largest fraud in the company's history, Sylvia shot back, and saved all your jobs in the process. More than that, Penelope added, standing beside me, we have a plan to rebuild, properly this time. I laid out our proposal, a complete restructuring, new compliance protocols, and a partnership with Maria's firm for ongoing oversight. The question isn't whether we'll survive, I concluded. It's whether you're with us or against us. The room was silent. Then old George from accounting stood up. I worked with their mother, he said quietly. She always said her girls would do great things. I vote we give them the chance. One by one, the board members nodded. Even Trevor finally agreed. As we left the boardroom, victorious, my phone buzzed. A message from our father. You'll never succeed without me. Penelope read it over my shoulder and laughed. Should we tell him about the board vote? No, I smiled, deleting the message. Let's show him instead. We walked to my office window, looking out over the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of possibility. You know what Mom would say right now? Penelope asked. Girls, you've only just begun. We quoted together, laughing. Noel appeared at the door. Sorry to interrupt the moment, but Maria found something else in those files. Something about your mother's death. We turned to face him, the laughter dying in our throats. Just when we thought we had all the answers, another mystery emerged. The truth about our mother would have to wait for tomorrow. Tonight, we had a company to save. Maria spread the medical records across my desk, her hands trembling slightly. Your mother didn't die of natural causes. These toxicology reports were buried, but they show trace amounts of arsenic. Penelope gripped my hand so hard it hurt. Are you saying someone poisoned her? I finished, the words tasting like ash. And I think we all know who. Noel pulled up an email on his laptop. Found this in Philip's encrypted files. Your father knew the SEC was investigating him even back then. Your mother was going to turn him in. So he killed her, Penelope whispered. Our own father. The office door burst open. Sylvia rushed in, face flushed. They're transferring your father to a different facility right now. If we're going to confront him, it has to be now. We found him in the courthouse holding area, looking smug despite his orange jumpsuit. His smile faltered when he saw our faces. What's this about? I slapped the toxicology report on the table. Want to explain this? He glanced at the paper, and for a split second, his mask slipped. Fear flickered across his face. Where did you get that? Mom was going to expose you, Penelope said, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. So you killed her. You don't understand. He started, but I cut him off. No, you don't understand. We've already given these records to the DA. They're reopening Mom's case. His composure cracked completely. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Philip said it would be quick, painless. She wasn't supposed to suffer. Penelope recoiled. You're actually admitting it. Everything I did was for this family. No, I leaned forward. Everything you did was for yourself, and now you're going to pay for all of it. As if on cue, the DA walked in with two officers. Maxwell Warner, you're under arrest for the murder of Catherine Warner. We watched them lead him away. His shoulders finally slumped in defeat. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. This time, we were ready. Warner Industries announces a complete restructuring, I declared into the microphones, starting with a new charitable foundation in our mother's name, dedicated to corporate transparency and fraud prevention. The Catherine Warner Foundation will ensure that what happened to our family never happens to another, Penelope added. We're turning our tragedy into purpose. Back at the office, Maria had more news. The overseas accounts, we found them all. Once we reclaim those assets, the company will be stronger than ever. And I've got something else. Noel grinned, pulling up a video on his phone. It showed Earl being arrested at the airport, trying to flee the country. Like father, like son, Sylvia remarked dryly. My phone buzzed, a message from the board. Our restructuring plan had been unanimously approved. We did it, Penelope breathed. We actually did it. Not quite, I said, pulling out one last document. There's one more thing. It was the trust document our mother had left me, but with a modification. I'm splitting it with you, Penny, 50-50, the way Mom would have wanted. Tears welled in her eyes. Lou, we're in this together now. No more secrets, no more divisions. Sylvia raised her coffee cup. To Catherine's daughters, carrying on her real legacy. As we all toasted, Yesenia poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but the new investors are here for the presentation. Penelope and I exchanged glances. Ready? I asked. She straightened her jacket. Ready. Walking into the boardroom, I felt Mom's presence stronger than ever. The investors sat expectantly as we began our presentation about the company's future. A future built on integrity, transparency, and the unshakable bond between two sisters who refused to let greed destroy their family's true legacy. The Warner sisters, I heard one investor whisper, they're changing everything. And we were. One decision, one deal, one day at a time. Later that evening, as Penelope and I stood in Mom's old office, now our shared space, I picked up her photo from the desk. Think she'd be proud? Penelope asked. I looked at my sister, thinking of everything we'd overcome, everything we'd built from the ashes of our father's betrayal. She already is, I said, putting the photo back. And this is just the beginning. The city lights twinkled beyond our window, full of possibility. We had uncovered every lie, faced every truth, and emerged stronger. Our father's empire of deception had crumbled, but from its ruins, we'd built something better, something real. Together, we turned off the office lights and stepped into our future, finally free from the shadows of the past.